2, 1, pop.
Hello, guys.
All right. This is the Power Hour podcast. Welcome back. And this is actually Andrew Yaga. I know he looks so much different.
What's different? What is different about him? I don't know.
The handlebar mustache needs to come back.
Check his ID to make sure that's it.
I did actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I got carded when I walked
Jeremy
in.
Montoya, of course, is here with us as well. We're back at Patent Title with Shae. Thank you so much for hanging out. She's awesome.
She's the best.
Yeah. And Shae is now in charge of 32 different title offices. Or two, I don't know very well. And so we're going to talk with her a lot about wraps. We're working on one in the Atascocita area, so we'll talk about that sub too, and a few other things that are going on. But first of all, I want to bring up one of our first guests, newbie who's come to Power Hour. Come on up, Leroy.
Oh, Leroy, what's up, bro?
Yo.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
Not sure where.
Why don't you take a seat here? Go ahead and sit.
I got it, Jeff.
I just sat on a knee. We have to reload it. Chairs.
All right, Leroy, tell us about yourself. Tell us how'd you hear about Power Hour, and after that, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so I heard Power Hour actually from Shae. Had stopped by with Patent Title, my office down in League City, right off of 518.
Oh, nice.
So licensed real estate agent with Net Worth Realty. I handle mostly Galveston County, a little bit of Southern Harris County, but we've got 4 offices in the greater Houston area, so we do kind of dip across the way. And she recommended second Saturday over here at Patent Title, stop by and see what's going on. And this is a lot. A lot of people here. She said expect a better part of 60 people, and she's not leave me wrong.
What's your biggest takeaway so far? Like you said, a lot of people, but what's been the big takeaway?
For me personally, just kind of obviously, so we're a hard money lender. We deal strictly kind of on the cash side.
Yep.
So learning this creative financing part of it to take that next step. Like I get a pitch, a subject to deal once a week, every other week or so, and I'm oblivious to the fact. Obviously, I know there are other ways to go about getting deals done and learning what that is.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yep, that's what's bringing me in.
So, of course, the big thing in Power Hour being here is, bringing people in to make their first calls. Now, you're a realtor, obviously. This is not your first rodeo that you've ever done, but as you kind of see what's happening out there, like tell us what you saw, the people who are making their calls and kind of the atmosphere.
I'm empathetic. I feel for everyone in the seats. If you dove into a couple of the rooms, they're like getting ready to make their first phone call, or they just got off the phone with that agent, like, that guy he was a pain. He was not giving me anything.
You probably called me during
and I was like, my phone is always on, and so like just kind of seeing that and kind of getting in that step, and I would say, obviously what's in the way is the way, and so making these phone calls. And I had spoken briefly here earlier about how the idea of the Power Hour was to kind of come in and start making those phone calls and building that book of business and kind of getting in and getting your feet wet.
Most of us, when we get started, Leroy, the biggest barrier is, you got to join this mentorship. You got to join this. You got to do that. You got to spend this much amount of money. And for us, when we got started, that wasn't the goal. It was just to collectively come together and share our resources, collectively share our ideas, and then start growing together.
Yeah. We
We don't pitch anything here. We don't try to sell anyone on anything. We're just literally here trying to get business done together, collectively as a group. So that's really what the main motto is about Power Hour.
Love it. I don't want to say it like negative connotation essentially, but you run into that competition piece with real estate agents. There's you're an agent, kick rocks.
Yeah.
And here from what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing, obviously, like the collaboration piece. So as opposed to I'm not your competition, we're here to collaborate. Let's build and grow.
And that's what we try to build. That's
So
what we try to build here is like, if we don't have the answer, like just say, hey, go talk to them.
Yeah.
They have the answer. And they're just going to give you all the information. They're just going to spill it out to you.
Yeah.
That's what we try to build here.
That's another thing that we're trying to do here as well as, and this is what kind of blows my mind. I've been in real estate for the last 3 years or so, but you hear this negative connotation with agents and investors on either side. And sometimes it feels like it's title companies in the middle trying to bring everyone together, right?
Right.
But why do you think there's a dynamic between those two? Because at the end of the day, we're both trying to obviously negotiate a good deal, right?
Right.
We're obviously trying to support our individual families. So why do you think there is this dynamic?
I wish I knew the answer to that, because that would make my life a lot easier as well. Because there's a lot of me first and the gimme,
Yeah.
and I've got to win. And if you win, then I lose. It's not
Exactly.
like a win-win mentality.
I've never seen
so-
like a real estate even conference. I've never seen it just be a real estate conference. It's either an investor conference,
Right.
or an agent conference. Like, why is that different dynamic?
I know, maybe that's something we need to do is bring
Just
something.
to bring them together. Again, it's competition, and folks are worried about, oh, you're fishing in my pond, or huge city.
It's
There's
massive.
no reason it's not competition. We
It's
should be
massive.
collaborating
I love that.
to get deals done together. And I've run into it routinely, whether it's calling agents from one particular part of town all over, and they're like, "Oh, I don't work with you," or "I'm an agent too, and this isn't going to work out." You have a house for sale, and you're trying to sell it, and fiduciary, you've got a
Yeah,
responsibility to
exactly.
sell that house, but you don't want to entertain anything that I have to say. I have no idea why that.
Well, a lot of times right now, the don't understand sub-twos and wraps. So the most phone calls that I'm getting right now are not from my investors. They're from the realtors asking me, you're on this contract. Can you explain to me what I'm even being offered? And so that's been a huge, I probably get 4 or 5 calls a day minimum of just realtors finally wanting to understand what they're being offered instead of just poo-pooing it real fast.
I think one of the major things is like part of the reason there's this clash between agents and investors are 2 major components. The first one is there's kind of unrealistic expectations of both parties. A realtor thinks whatever they've listed is going to go, to the multimillionaire owner occupant. I don't care if it's burned to the ground. And then investors come at it of, if I pay anything over $2 for a house, it's a terrible deal. So there's unrealistic expectations. And then the second reason is, and we were just hinting at it, which is there is this absence of this win-win mentality. That just because realtor, you sold the property for maybe lesser of a price, doesn't mean you have lost. You got the deal done for your client. An investor, just because maybe you paid a little bit more, or this wasn't the right deal for you, that again somehow you have lost in this whole thing. Instead of, as we talked about in the beginning, where I kind of take the group, is how does as the investor, when I'm making this call, how do I talk to this agent and say, you and I are on the same team here? We're actually not opposite. We're on the same team to serve your client. You and I can certainly win. How do we help your client win too? Right.
I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, Leroy,
Thank you
thanks
for
for
being here.
joining us
Thanks,
on the podcast. Really
Thanks for the
appreciate it.
invite, Shae, for hosting and bringing us in. I like the stages. Is No Shape November is.
I guess we didn't
I don't
notice
think
that,
this was
did we?
on purpose, but I feel like.
Oh, I see it now.
So,
Yeah.
so.
I'm a month into this.
Awesome. Thanks again.
for being on here.
I appreciate it.
All right, so Jeff, we're doing a sub-2 deal that we're wrapping. Tell us about what's going on with that.
Yeah, so this was a deal we picked up. I negotiated this deal a couple of weeks ago, and it's a 2-year-old house in the Atascocita area. And basically, this family was saying, we had a major loss of income, and maintaining a house sucks, because it does. It's a lot of work. And here's the situation. We have this mortgage and all the rest of it. We just need money to get out. So I followed up with this family I probably chased them for a month. They're just super busy. They have kids going to baseball and all the rest of it. Finally got it signed up. So we're going to take this property sub-2. We're paying them $12,000. And prior to closing, we actually need to make a mortgage payment for them, because they were starting to get behind. So they just saw the writing on the wall. And so we got that signed up. And then Andrew, you went and dispoed it. And there's an investor who is going to pay us pretty nicely for it. And but basically what we're going to do, because we're taking it sub-2, is we're going to wrap it to this investor, but we're not tacking on a bunch of additional interest like you might to an owner occupant.
It's like a mirror wrap.
So this is what we term a mirror wrap. So the interest rate on the mortgage is 3.75%, and the buyer, we're wrapping it to them also at 3.75%. So if that investor were to fail in payments, we have no reason to believe they will, because they're pretty good for it. We could foreclose, and the family would never know what happened.
So you're saying for us to do a mirror wrap to stay into the deal versus what's the other alternative that you hear a lot of people do as well?
Well, you could just assign it, and now you're no longer a party to the transaction. However,
What's the con about that?
well, the con is that by assigning it, you don't have any interest in the deal anymore
Mhm.
at all. So if the investor in the future, let's say a year goes by and they decide to stop making payments, well, guess who that seller's calling? They're not calling that, they're calling
Yeah.
me. And so I feel like, we have a responsibility, if we're setting up this deal that, we're going to wait until that guy sells or refinances. So we're just going to keep our eye on it. And, again, you vetted this guy, he's got plenty of money, he's got property. So there's no reason to believe he's going to fail, but we want to make sure that our seller is protected.
So on a deal like this, are you kind of structuring, like, as far as, are you gonna make money on the entry fee for the investor? Is that where you're making a lot of majority of your money, or is
Yeah.
it when like, he refis out of the property?
Yes. So the way Andrew sold this
Yeah.
deal is, basically this guy is buying it from us. We're wrap it
Yeah.
to him.
Yeah.
But basically we'll make our money on the initial down
I mean,
payment.
that's what I guess.
Right. Right. A typical wraparound mortgage, you would see a difference in the interest rate or in the total principal.
Yeah.
And you make an additional bit of cash flow. That's not how we've set this one up because the monthly payments are already pretty high.
Pretty
There's
high.
taxes with taxes. And all the rest of it. So that's what I wanted to ask Shae about. We were talking a little bit earlier about wraps and transferring sub twos. So when you exit these deals, it's really critical that you have somebody at title who knows what the hell's going on. Because you and I were talking, there was just some bonus thing. Like I'm just a stupid investor, right? Yeah, we're gonna wrap it. How hard could it be? And Shay's like, well, let's make sure we sign this up right. So Shae, pretend like I'm in 5th grade. What is a wrap around mortgage?
Okay, and the way I always talk about it, because it's grown now to where the realtors are still wanting to be the experts and because they're getting so many sub 2 and wrap offers and wanting to actually help their sellers be people who can wrap, they're actually coming to me to ask for creative financing classes.
Mm-hmm.
And so the easiest way, whenever I go to these classes to explain sub 2, wrap, hybrids, all the things that are happening right now in the sub 2 community, I act like, and I basically explain it in the 5th grade level, who's in the driver's seat. If you're purchasing a property sub 2, then as the buyer, you're in the driver's seat. You're going to be making those mortgage payments. You're going to take over those mortgage payments. You're in the driver's seat. When you're wrapping, then you are the seller and you are wrapping a loan you already have. The seller's in the driver's seat, not the buyer. So I'm always talking about it in the sense of who's in the driver's seat. When you're wrapping a mortgage, you're taking one that's in existence, you're wrapping it, sometimes a higher mortgage, sometimes a mirror wrap, is what you were discussing just now, with the same amount and the same interest rate. But either way, you're taking in that mortgage into a mortgage that's being wrapped, and now you're the lender, and so you're in the driver's seat. When you do the hybrid, then you are also going to be a buyer in the driver's seat, not as a seller, because you're taking the property sub 2, and then that additional amount that you have that's their equity, you're doing a seller financing loan, but as the buyer, you're in the driver's seat. So that's kind of how I try to explain sub 2 versus wrap versus hybrids.
Yeah, that's a really good description. I think one of the key things, like I speak with realtors a lot, and I'll get on phone calls, and this again is, I don't want to say is the clash between agents and investors, but it's a lot of agents they'll ask all these questions, and I say, listen, you're right to ask me all these things about protecting your client and all the rest, 100%. But what we first need to agree on is, does this solve the problem that your client is experiencing? Because if we can't even agree on that, I don't need you to put you through an education
right?
on the phone call. It's like, no, I was just kind of curious.
Yeah.
Like, well, what have I been doing the past half an hour?
Right. Exactly. Yeah, and it is, for me, being in the industry as long as I have, and I've been with Pat for 20 years, I've been in the industry for 5. being in the industry as long as I have, this is a whole new world for me, because this year has been the first year that the investor and the realtor are working together and everybody is getting paid. I am having to, with the realtors, even ask them, hey, if you talk to your broker about this, because you may need to, instead of taking a commission, it may be a referral fee. Regardless, they're getting paid.
Yeah.
So some of the brokers are okay with it. Some of the brokers just have additional paperwork that they'll do, and they're fine with it. Some of the owners brokerages are doing it themselves, so they're already well versed. But it's just a new era for me to see the investor finally working with and it's not like you said, it's not a clash of the titans. That I have a property and I have a problem with this property, and you have a solution. And I mean, the problem may be solar panels. The problem may be that they couldn't make their payment. Whatever the problem is, they're all coming to closing. They're all getting paid, and the seller is thrilled when the closing is over, and so is the buyer. And if it's a win-win for all parties, how can it not be good? I mean, you can't go out and get a mortgage for 2.99 right now.
Yeah, you can.
But you can't. And so
Right.
that's the craziest one.
Right.
I mean, that's the funny thing. I mean, my boss was kind of laughing about it. He's like, I'm just going to put your face on the billboard and say, hey, she knows how to get you a 2.99. You know, and I'm just like, that's not funny. Don't do that. That's a lot of calls.
My life will be miserable.
You're getting
But it
calls
is-
before.
But it is,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of title companies who want to deal with this. But if you do know what you're doing and you can help your buyer be safe and help the seller be safe, this is a thing that helps everybody.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Everybody walks away, they got what they wanted, and the property's getting in.
It's finally taken care of. The
Exactly.
problem was solved. Exactly. Jeremy, did you see we had a question from the studio audience? Okay, so we got
Question from Chris.
Are we seeing?
so.
Go ahead.
Let
What's the
Jeremy
question,
hang on,
Chris?
hang
Yeah,
on, hang on. Let's go ahead and let Jeremy announce what the question is.
So, are we seeing more loans called?
Called due lately.
Yeah.
And it's really more around the financial climate. Lenders get worried, things are upside down, things are wonky, and
So your question is, because of the financial climate, that lenders are more inclined to call loans due? Is that where the line of questioning is?
for example, if they know that they're sub-2 or have some creative aspect.
Okay,
to them,
so
right?
just in case anybody in our watching can't hear the question from Chris, because so many creative deals are happening now, sub-2 is becoming more mainstream. The realtors know about this. Are the lenders now popping up and saying, "Hey, time out. We're going to start doing some more due on sales"? That's the fear everybody has: due on sales clause. Shae, are you all seeing a lot of that happen?
I personally am not the one closing on them, but they do usually come back to me if it happens, because they're trying to ask me how do they fix it.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of any more than usual. The only time usually a due on sale clause will happen is if you're not making payment.
Yeah.
That hasn't changed. There's nobody that gets notified. And the fact that I am closing 5+ a week of these files, if you think about it, the mortgage companies don't have the capacity to start calling all these notes due. If they did, then all these mortgage companies would be owning properties, and that's not their business. They're not in business to own these properties.
Yeah, and a lot of it too is like the banks, it's an option to call a loan due. It's not their obligation to call it due. Like Shae was referring to, as long as the loans are getting paid on time, as long as the loans are current, banks are not in the business of foreclosing. Like, they're not in the business of owning real estate. So they don't have, regardless of what's going on, with the financial uncertainty, they're not going to want to call the loans due, in my opinion. Now, is it going to happen? Probably, right? Because all these loans these creative deals are happening more and more, right? And so people are not going to know how to transition with the insurance. They're not going to, have a title friendly, title company that can actually handle the transaction. So maybe it will occur, but I don't think the financial climate has really anything to do with it, in my opinion.
So Jeremy, let's think about this. If you were a bank and you had, if you even knew this financial climate was happening, but your mortgages are still getting paid in spite of this, would you be really aggressive about calling them due all of a sudden?
No,
Why not?
because at the end of the day, you're still getting your money every month, right? So I mean, that's the thing. So no, at the end of the day, they're still getting paid every month, so they don't care.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who it's coming from. They on their end, they just see that they're getting paid.
Right. That's what the banks want
Yeah.
at the end of the day. Kind of like how Andrew was just talking about. The banks are not in the business of
Yeah.
owning property. They're in the business
Yeah.
of lending. Now, that being said, because there are so many more of these transactions, I think the only danger is if there are amateur investors out there who set up these deals and all of a sudden you start to see a lot of non-performing things, then I think the banks might pay attention. But as long as, if you're a realtor watching, as long as you're working with a credible title company and credible investors who know what they're doing, and they've set it up there where you're not going to have this danger, then I think that, it's, if there are more problems created by doing the sub two and doing it, then we'll see due on sales perhaps. But if we do our obligations, I don't think you're going to see it anymore.
I would argue that, and I would say, how many foreclosures do we get a month here in Texas, here in Houston, Harris County alone, right? I think we're saving people from going that route to getting foreclosed on, and we're helping them on that end. Because again, the banks don't want to own real estate, but why? Because they don't want to pay an actual trustee. Again, the bank doesn't foreclose on you. They hire a trustee where they pay 10 grand to foreclose on the house, right? The banks don't want to do that. And so I think us investors and, Shae and Pat and Title are doing a phenomenal job of helping some of these sellers who are in tough situations where it's like either they're going to get foreclosed on, or we're going to help rescue their credit, help catch up their payments to be able to do a sub two transaction. And I think we're saving more people on the back end as opposed to letting it go to foreclosure. I mean, my goal here is to go a whole month where there's no foreclosures in Harris County, right? It's going to take a lot of work, but I think we can get to that point if agents, if investors, if families all decide to work together to say, hey, we can't let a house get foreclosed on because no one wants that. The banks don't want that. Lenders don't want
Literally no one wants this.
Well, the market crash happened in 08 and 09 because of the foreclosure.
that. Exactly.
If they would have had the social media we have now,
Exactly. Yeah.
we may have not had, we may have not had a market crash in 2009 because all of those mortgages may have just been taken over. So I've thought about that several times.
Do we have a win to share? I don't know. Our producer has horrible handwriting.
So we have two things working against us. Okay, so our producer, she's amazing. It's Regina. So she has written down Doroteo Flores is a guest who has a win to share with us. The other problem is I can read this perfectly well. Andrew apparently needs glasses.
I couldn't.
Dude, I can't.
You're ridiculous.
I'm sorry.
All right.
Like,
No, you all need LASIK.
I did get
Get glasses, get LASIK. Oh my God. All right. Doroteo, whatever. All right. Doroteo Flores coming over. Tell us about a win that you've had. Hey man, how's it going? Good. How y'all doing? Good.
What's up, my guy? What's up, bro?
Nice seeing you. You too.
Dude, Doroteo stormed in the door. He's like, I gotta tell you guys what's going on. So what's up, dude?
So we pretty recently started working with Maria. We met here at Power Hour, and she's just very busy. So I've always been partnering with them and managing their VAs more efficiently.
Who's Maria?
I think she's a wholesaler that's come here a couple times.
Yeah. She's pretty busy. She's a nurse and she works a lot of hours, so it's hard to get her nurse schedules are crazy. So
Okay.
So
Maria is a nurse who's wholesaling that you all have teamed up with.
yeah,
Okay.
because she's bringing the resources of the VAs and that team.
Oh,
But she had the
got it.
time with Swipe could you put in to actually manage them and take care of the warm leads.
Oh, wow, that's good.
Yeah, and which Oscar and I do. So I came across this warm lead and I just called her, usually how it goes.
Yeah.
And kind of my mind right now, I'm under, a little bit of pressure.
Okay.
So what was the overall outcome? Like, did you end up closing her? You get her under contract, or kind of what's the end? What
I got a verbal agreement.
Okay.
We were having technical difficulties with the contract. It wasn't formatted properly,
Uh-huh.
and that took a long time for us to get that right. So that cost us.
Is that the first time you go through a contract?
No. It just I guess it was structured right or formatted right on the other deals, but this one it wasn't formatted right.
Got it. Okay.
So she said yes because I was whenever I run my range offers, my comps, I run the low end to average. And when she told me the price she wanted, I was like, I don't even want to tell you the number on my screen. I feel like I'll be disrespecting you saying it. And I was like, is there any wiggle room you possibly had to come down if I tell you this number? Just because I'm not trying to disrespect you, And she dropped it a pretty significant amount. And
so let's go through this step by step. So we have this warm lead.
yeah,
You call her up, and obviously we don't even need to know the address. It doesn't even matter. What is her starting asking price?
170, 175.
Okay, so you run your comps.
Yeah.
And what is your number telling you need to be
like 110 to like 120, 130.
Okay, so we have a $60,000 gap here,
Yeah.
and you say, hey, like, oh, we're way far apart. But she comes down on her price. What does she drop to?
150.
150. Okay,
Yeah.
so she dropped
Yeah.
20 grand. Yeah.
But notice that she drops 20 grand. Why? Because he asked a question. He asked a specific question. Go ahead, continue.
Right. So she drops down 20 grand. You've still got 40 to go. So
Mhm.
what do you do next?
I run my offer range pretty low, so I think based on the constant area, 150 would be fine. Of course, the lower the better. But that's where we're as of right now. So I'm gonna reach back out to her today or tomorrow and see if she's actually trying to sign a contract or if she was just talking.
So Jeff, how many times have you had a verbal offer accepted and you guys try to sign the contract and the seller ghosts you? How many times has that ever happened?
So that used to happen pretty frequently. And that part of that is when you start talking numbers, you have to just make sure, like, hey, if we really start talking, like, you're definitely ready to take action now, right? Now that's different than somebody saying, hey, I'm not going to proceed because we're too far apart in price. That's different. But I've now learned, like, this is how I control this conversation. So if you're saying this number works from you, we're doing the deal and we're doing it right now.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, they get cold feet 24 hours later and you never hear from them again.
Or is that also part of like they already got the offer, so they have to shop it against somebody else?
But potentially they can, and that does happen
That does
frequently. Yeah. Now so part of the way you talk numbers without committing is you say, listen, I think we're between like 140 and 130. I got to go check. So now I haven't truly committed anything and they're still gunning for me. And you might do a wider offer range. Just keep
So we have in our sales process, in our system, we have what's called an offer call. Can you kind of run him through like what an offer call is? Like, you set the expectations and then you submit the offer, right? So walk us just quickly what an offer call looks like for us on our end.
Yeah, I mean, an offer call is a structured conversation. And the most important thing is, here is what we're about to do. And here are the rules of this little game we're going to play. And if you break the rules, I'm going to call you out on it and the game is over. And a matter of fact, you're the one who loses because my offer is now gone. So there has to be, and I don't really know if quite the right word is threat, but there has to be a threat that if you don't abide by these rules I'm about to do, I'm leaving. I'm taking my toys and going home. Okay. And so the way this starts off, will start off.
We detoured a little bit, but I love it.
Right. Yeah.
This is good.
And this
content.
is your fault.
This
Okay.
is good content.
Right. And it's Andrew's fault. So hopefully this will actually help. But so you would start into the conversation, say, hey, we've been talking a while. I think I've gathered all the numbers here. Before we go any further, I want to make sure, like, you're totally ready to sell this thing, right? Yeah, I'm ready. Okay. If I give you the number and I walk you through what it looks like, do you feel like you could confidently tell me yes or no? And they'll probably say, yeah, I think so, whatever. It's like, okay, that's fine. I can live with a yes. I'd love to work with you. I can live with a no. That's fine. No harm, no foul. We'll go our separate ways. What I can't live with is a maybe I'll think about it. And I just set the stage like, this answer is not acceptable. And if you do it, I am leaving, right? So once you've established that, those are the rules. And they say, yep, I agree. I'm going to play ball. Because what for Andrew and Jeremy were talking about is we don't want them to say, maybe I'll think about it. And by think about it, I mean, I'm going to go ask Jeremy if he can pay me $50.
Now that gives you the option for them to shop it around.
Right.
They got the leverage.
Correct. You've lost all your power.
Yeah.
So then you go through, here's what we're going to do for you. Here's there's money up front. We're going to take it all and write all the problems that you're addressing, how your solution solves the problem. And then you get to the whole things like, and if you want to proceed, we'll sign an agreement today. And our number is X. And the number is the last thing you say.
Yeah.
And then you just shut your mouth. Because frankly, if you start with your number and you keep talking, they're honestly not paying attention to anything else you say. They're just stuck on the number. So you want that to be the last thing, and then you just shut your mouth and wait and see what they say.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's
So-
gold right there.
But let's rewind back to what we were supposed to be
Yeah.
talking about, which is this Corpus Christi deal that you're working on.
Yeah, I actually didn't get that under contract. It was Oscar. But same thing came from the VAs, the warm leads. I think honestly better if you told it. than I.
But tell your side of the story though.
Did you talk with this person?
No, I think I ran some like, a little bit of numbers just to give a ballpark where we should be at.
Okay.
And that's about all. Oscar called me, said we got this deal, and I was like, "You do this?" I'm like, sure.
Hey, this is Oscar. Do you know this guy?
I do.
That is the right Oscar.
Pull
Dude,
here.
pull the chair. So I don't know, Corpus
up here.
Christi deal. What's going on here?
So it was a warm lead, and it was a warm lead, and we have VAs. We teamed up with someone else that we met here at Power Hour,
Cool.
and I recommend to come to Power Hour, whether you're new, experienced, or in the middle. Just come to Power Hour. Show up. These three gentlemen and the people behind the scenes are working really hard for free. So we got to appreciate that and take advantage of it, right? And I'm grateful for all three of you, Regina, Jennifer, and everyone else who's involved behind the scenes. So yeah, so this Corpus Christi deal, it was a warm deal, and I mean a warm call, and you just have to have like structure in the call, and with that, the way it unfolded was I set proper expectations from the beginning. I told the seller, I was like, hey, if you're ready to move forward from the beginning of the call, would you be willing to sign a purchase agreement today? Right? And she said yes. And after that, we started talking about the property. So that's what specific questions do you have about the deal?
So when you first got this warm lead, like
Mhm.
what was the issue or problem this person was having in regards to selling?
Mhm.
Like why not just list it?
Yeah. So the problem with the seller was she just wanted to cash out to pay other debt. So she's an investor too. So she understands how the numbers work.
Okay.
And she was able to give it to us a little bit discounted price compared to
Retail,
retail, because she knows how it is with agents.
Okay. So do you feel like her main motivation was there was just a high urgency
Yes.
to get this debt paid?
Yes.
So that's what it boiled down to.
Right.
Okay, cool.
Mhm.
So if so you all work with it. Now, how are you going to exit this deal?
We're exiting it. So we teamed up with someone. I was mentioning it on Thursday night on our Zoom call. Another sub 2 student who has investor lift. And I posted 3 other properties that we have for Bogalusa in Louisiana. And he commented on it. And I reached out to him. And then I didn't vet him pretty well. So it's a learning experience. But then this is a learning experience for myself too, because I know y'all have invested lift too. I don't know why it didn't cross my mind to reach out y'all first instead of a stranger,
Come to Power Hour, but don't use Power Hour's resources.
Yeah.
And everyone, that is Oscar. Thanks for playing.
Yeah, so learn from my mistakes. Like it's really a silly situation that I went through myself, but I choose to learn and grow. And the only way you can learn and grow is by testing yourselves and making mistakes.
Making those mistakes.
Like our mentor, Pace Morby, he always says, like, keep making mistakes. Bring him problems, and he's gonna bring you solutions so we can learn.
Oh, yeah.
So
So you guys ultimately got the deal under contract and you're
Mhm.
still working on moving it.
Mhm.
So I guess overall, as far as like, where do you guys see yourself moving forward the next year or so? Like just quick little brief, because I think we're wrapping up here because our producer's telling us we got a couple of things going on.
Yeah, so the vision for the next year is to make this a world-class sales organization where we could scale it and then exit the company. So that's what I'm looking for. We all individually from Dowie have different visions, but that's my vision since you asked me. But I'm sure the other partners have a different vision as well.
I love it. Well, shoot, thanks for having us on here. The more of the story, talk to people.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, guys. All right, we got 2 other guests coming in. Shae, we'll have you back on, and then Shuka. All right, let's wrap on up. Come on, Shae.
Shae, come on back.
Let's have a seat.
So we've had Shae on the show a few times. Of course, she's a senior escrow officer at Patton. She does basically all of their creative deals, so she has no time to do anything except manage all of this. But Shae, we just want to say how much we appreciate you. Thank you for taking care of our files and opening up this space for us, because this is challenging. It takes you away from your family. And Chuka wanted to present you a little
I
gift
want
from us.
to bestow. I would like to bestow.
Oh, there
Yeah.
we go.
I love to represent our sub-two community. I like what I do, all parts of it, but the creative part, I'm a little just more loving towards because it's new, it's fresh,
Yes.
it's learning, and everybody's learning. And I feel like when you are teaching and you're learning yourself, you're living. And so I'm getting older, and it just makes me feel more alive to be a part of the community and to help people around me. Thank
100%.
you.
Yeah. So this is the, if you guys don't know, this is the official sub 2 hat. Like this hat's worth a lot of money. So you can get some other ones. They don't have the patch. They don't have the little symbol. So this is so look at that. All right. Well, thank you so much, Shae. That concludes our episode at the Power Hour. Wait, we got one more thing. Oh, okay. Hang on. Okay. I got it. Okay. So we have one special request. So it's by the chat, what they were saying is that they really want to, what is it? Is it rate? What is it? So
I think we're gonna have to come up with some sort of poll.
there's gonna be a poll about my mustache. For some reason, everyone loves my mustache here. So we're gonna have a poll on what I should do with the mustache. Whether if it's handlebar it up, keep it permanently, or shave it tomorrow.
Or
shave.
Oh yes, that would be awesome.
what he's missing right now is the sideburns.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's missing the sideburns.
like the old one where it would
Yeah.
attach. Oh God. Okay.
I can see it.
I think I would get killed. All right. So that concludes the episode.
That is the conclusion of the Power Hour podcast. We will see you next week.